Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. My name is Alan Young, and I'm the Chief Strategist for HospitalityNet, and I'm incredibly pleased to be presenting a Property Management Systems Innovation in the Future of Property Management Systems panel today with three experts in their field. I'd like to introduce Linda Wallner, who is the VP of Global Business Development for Protel, Mark Lloyd, who's the CEO of Jonas Quorum, and Aaron Shepard, who's the CEO and co-founder of Above Property. Thanks very much for joining us all. Today, I'd like to start with you, Linda, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of background, personal and corporate, and then we'll talk to Mark and Aaron, and then from there, we'll move on and get right into the questions.
Thank you, Alan. Pleasure to be here and pleasure to have the opportunity to speak to the high-tech teams. Protel Hotel Software is a PMS company based in Germany. We've been around for 26 years, and more than 14,000 hotels run one of our PMSs all around the world. I am Linda. I am celebrating 20 years in hotel technology this year, and the absolute best industry to work in my opinion.
Awesome. Mark, over to you.
Thank you. My name is Mark. I started my career about 20 years ago as a software engineer right out of university, working for a company called Remco Software, which through a series of acquisitions is now Jonas Quorum. So I've been working within the same company for about 20 years. Jonas Quorum was acquired by Jonas Software, and now I work not only with Jonas Quorum, but other software companies exploring how to best build innovative technology strategies for the future and how to empower our customers. Jonas Quorum has been in business for 25 plus years, and we're focused primarily on property management systems. We have a fully cloud-based solution today that we're selling regularly called Jonas Quorum.
Great, thank you very much. And Aaron, over to you.
Yeah, my name is Aaron Shepard. I co-founded Above Property in 2012. Much prior to that, I've been building property management and central reservation systems for the last 30 plus years. Previously sold a company to Fidelio and Micros Fidelio. After that, sold a company that I had built up to HomeAway, and then later on sold another company I built to Pegasus, and then was also CTO with HP on a revamp of American Airlines systems. So I've kind of been around the block once or twice. Above Property is a travel platform. We call it that because we service not just hotels, but also other travel industries such as rental cars. We support not just property management, although that is the focus of this talk today. We support basically all aspects of a hotel. So central reservation systems, distribution, revenue management, internet booking engines, websites, content, and property management as well. And we also service very, very large customers and very smaller customers such as independent hotels. That's kind of where we fit in.
Thanks, Aaron. So Linda, I want to start with you. And first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us today. I know this was a last minute thing for you, and we really, really appreciate it. We're so happy to have Protel here. We had a panelist or a company that had to challenge, and thanks for joining us. Over the last 18 months, 24 months, we've been challenged as an industry at the tip of the spear, so to speak, related to the impact that COVID-19 has had on us. The hotel landscape has been decimated in certain regions of the world. We have seen technology moving in areas quite quickly because of hoteliers realizing that they need something else. But still, we've had challenges. During the 24 months or the past 24 months, I think it's really interesting to see what your company has been doing and others related to research and development. Where have you been putting your mindset dollars? What have you been working on? How have you been trying to, kind of open up to see where you can move forward from Protel's perspective?
Thank you, Alan. So when disaster struck, right, in March last year, the first thing that we did was to just sit down and reflect on what we could do to contribute to the industry. None of us knew what was going to happen, right? And we decided that we didn't want to really engage in webinars and such things. We really tried to think about what we could do for our customers in this difficult time. And we decided that the best thing that we could do was to make sure that they were super fit in their tech stack when we came out of this. So we rolled out, we introduced a completely new UI, new tech stack, everything. We upgraded all of our customers for free, the entire estate. It took us about 8 months active work. So by the end of 2020, we had finished that remote. It was quite a project for us. You can imagine the hotels, for many of them were closed. It was all over the world. We could not, necessarily call them. We did everything online. Our whole company actually mobilized to make that happen. And this is something that we are really proud of, that we were able to achieve that. And second that we did was that we thought about how we interact with our customers commercially in this period. We all have to survive, right? Everybody, hotels have to pay their staff, we have to pay our staff. But we can collaborate. And when you are in a partnership with your customer, it's also through the bad times. So we decided to introduce a occupancy-based pricing model to help that situation. And that's also something which was a really big step for us. That's something that we're very proud of.
That's awesome. It's so true. There's like a webinar tsunami, right? As soon as everybody is kind of sat back, but let's do webinars, everybody and their brother. Aaron, over to you. And obviously above property is not necessarily in its infancy, but is in its growth phase. So what were you up to?
We took a similar path. We focused our energy capital on expanding several of our areas of functionality. So like I said, we cover a pretty broad spectrum of technologies. And so we focused energy on revenue management, property management, and internet booking engine capabilities. So we expanded all that. We partnered with a couple local properties here in Naples, Florida, and rolled out to their full service luxury hotels our property management system. We partnered with our large rental car agency to roll out our revenue management capabilities there. And we also took steps to make it so that it was easier to do business with us, right? Making it simpler, So, we typically, for regular hotels, we have no contracts. It's month to month. Can be, like you had mentioned, Linda, an occupancy based, right? Really based upon how many travelers they have at the hotel. And so try to make it really easy for that. The other area where we spent a lot of time on was making sure that we could easily migrate hotels onto our platform. And so we developed a couple new technologies, an appliance that can sit to handle all interfaces and migration. And then we also developed a technology we call Rosetta, which allows us to migrate legacy, I call them legacy, but existing property management and central reservation systems over onto our platform.
Yeah, legacy sometimes makes people grumpy, but it is what it is. It's older systems. Right. Mark, thanks again for joining us today. I appreciate it. And so what is Jonas Quorum? What were you focusing on over the last 18, 24 months?
Yeah, a lot of commonalities with what we've been discussing, connecting with our customers, making sure communication is fluid. But leading into the pandemic, we as an organization sat down and really reviewed what is our goal, what are we trying to do day to day, what is driving our purpose. And we came up with a simple tagline, which is a better software company. So every day we're focusing on being better, and we started doing some overhauling of processes and looking at every every moment that we spend that's not with a customer or pursuant to satisfying one of our customers, we question what we're working on. And then as that led into the pandemic, it really positioned our mindset around what's happening with our customers today, and how can we communicate and facilitate more conversations so that we are the partner they need to be as we all discover together what the real demands are going to be over time. And we did see a shift in that. Early on, we saw a lot of the contactless experience was being pushed. What can we do for this or that? And we did prototypes on different things. We have a full guest journey that can be contactless for customers, and that's actually been shifting toward, we don't have enough staff in our hotels. How can we automate more processes? How can we be more efficient? So as part of us continually looking at how we can serve our client base and the needs of our current customers, we've really focused on flexibility and the ability to respond to needs as quickly as possible. And in addition to that, we, like Linda was speaking about, we engage in conversations, and we actually put together a system of looking at what is the impact of COVID to your business compared to historics, and we were able to help some customers out on their fees that they owed us, to help together to get through this time, and we got through it together. And I feel closer with not only our customers but our staff, at this point, having gone through the pandemic.
That's awesome. And what we do, especially in the hospitality industry, is all about relationships. Whether it's relationships with hoteliers, whether it's relationships with our colleagues, or even whether it's driving relationships with the guests. To me, that's the ground, the basis of everything we do. To follow on something you had talked about, there was a survey that was done a few weeks ago. My apologies, I forget who it was, but there was 85 to 90% of those between the ages of 16 and 25 state the fact that they will never use a mobile device for calling anybody unless it's an emergency. So mobile has really hit us, and it has amplified the need for companies to utilize mobile in a specific manner in order to give something to the guests that they want, whether it's to check in, whether it's to make a booking, whether it's to do whatever. Aaron, I'm going to go over to you. How important do you think mobile is moving forward with the property management systems landscape?
I think it's critical. We just literally had a hotel yesterday that lost their internet at their hotel. And so what do? The front desk agents just use their phones, right? To check people in, check people out, all that type of thing. So, our whole platform is built around programmer interfaces, APIs / web services. And all those web services are tailorable to be able to make it so that if you are developing a mobile application, you can do so and use very small amounts of bandwidth, et cetera. We're finding that since we went in and enabled our mobile capabilities, basically all the hotels are switching over to tablets. All the hotels are switching over to mobile devices. The managers are walking around with their phone, right, with all their statistics at their fingertips, as opposed to having to walk back to their desk, right? And so we think it's just absolutely critical in the way forward.
Linda, how about Protel?
No, I can only agree with Aaron here. And right. I think it's interesting, Aaron, that you mentioned the employees rather than the guests. And because we do very much the same, because the guest mobile journey is almost a given, right? We had it around for years, different ways to not interact with the reception, with kiosks and things like this. And I also think that the employees are really important. We've done very similar what you describe. And I mean, most cloud software today, it would be very unusual if they're not responsive and just can be done, used on any device. What I like what we have done is we've introduced the little things like dark mode, and a lot of places when we walk outside in the sun by the pool or whatever, that they can also use that feature, which they probably are using or used to using on their phones already, to really get that mobile experience into perfection.
It's funny. We always think that mobile has to be on a device too. One of my favorite experiences at a hotel was at the Leela in Trivandrum in India. When I arrived late at night, I was tired. They walked me through the front door. brought me over to a seating area, gave me a cup of tea. They didn't make me do anything. They basically wrote down in a book and took a look at my passport and then walked me to my room. It was seamless and it was awesome. Mark, how is Jonas dealing with the mobility issue, and how are you making sure that guests get exactly what they want, which is a challenge?
Yeah, well, we have to trust our customers to provide the guest experience, but we
Right.
look at what we do as enabling what they need to get done and how they need to get it done. And it was probably 10, 15 years ago, we went from a path of an application as we thought of in traditional sense to more of a platform approach to our technology, so that we're not architected into a corner with our technology. And I think that's one of the transformations that's harder to see from the outside, is what's required on the inside of your tech stack to really be in a place, as I mentioned previously, to be able to respond quickly with agility and to be able to move features to whatever device or whatever situation is needed. And it might be an automation or connection with another vendor. All of that kind of fits under the same architectural bucket, which is, as Aaron was alluding to, services-based platform where you can provide these things. And so we've had opportunities, since we're now architected in that way, to listen to a customer's need and say, well, this is our flow in this process on this device. And for us to quickly be able to go with low cost on our side, to be able to extend that functionality into that device. So one of the things that I think is really important to understand is it's hard to look at a trend that's going to exist for 10 years, specifically as that trend. Like you mentioned, talking on the phone and having a phone call. I remember 8 months into the pandemic, I had a meeting on a phone, and I talked on my mobile phone, and I recognized at that time it was the first mobile phone call I had for business
Right.
since the pandemic, because everything else was either texting, email, or like this, right, over a video conference. And it just shows you, right, we still talk about them as phones, but it's the last thing that we use them for. So we just need to be in a position to be able to respond with the right technology to the right, to the needs as they come up. That's the important lesson, I think, for me.
They're really expensive cameras, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Linda. Yes, Linda. Oh, you were going to jump in.
No, I just came to think about when you were talking about talking, right?
Yeah.
Voice, it's not talking into the phone doesn't mean that we have to make a phone call, right? But we talk to our phones all the time. We use Siri, we use Alexa, we talk constantly, many people, right? We record voice messages that we send, etc. And this is something that we also took the opportunity. We had started before the pandemic came, but the introduction of voice in the PMS. And this is something that we looked even more into during the last 18 months, so that we really can engage with the PMS in the same way like we engage with the rest of the world.
Right. Did you have Linda, did you have like a customer advisory board or a group of super users and stuff like that that you queried during the downtime that were able to say, this is my wish list?
So we do this. We did not have a specific event around this, but it was really obvious, right, that it was contactless. That was very important. And then we did some custom development for certain countries where we integrated when the restrictions became more, standardized. So we had integrations to Robert Koch, which is the equivalent of John Hopkins for used in Europe. So it appears directly in our PMS where is this guest coming from a risk area? You all remember when there was all these very detailed restrictions. So we did a lot of that kind of stuff, which was immediate response to the situation.
Right. That's very cool. Integrations are so important, especially when it comes to data. And Aaron, I'm gonna ask you this one. You and I have known each other for a long time. Back in 1999, I think I started getting involved with open travel, and so integrations, APIs, connectivity, all that stuff has been very, very near and dear to my heart. And as we talk tech stack, it becomes even more and more important. Prioritization wise, where do you think we are with APIs, and what still needs to be done in order for us to be able to play nice with everybody and ensure that we're doing the right thing for the hotelier as tech providers?
I think the big deal there is just basically giving people access to their data. and giving people access to the system. In our situation, we've got native APIs. We've got over, I don't know what it is up to now, over 1,200 native APIs. We also support, as an example, every version of OpenTravel and every version of HT&J, right? In our stack, we interface to dozens and dozens of different vendors. And what I've found over the last 6 months of doing a lot of integrations is that some vendors do a really good job and some vendors do a really terrible job. Right? They might have documentation, but they have no way for you to generate client libraries or be able to actually use the API, or they make it so completely security driven that it's almost impossible to just get started. Right? Lists of internet addresses that you have to whitelist and all kinds of sort of antiquated ways of doing business. So from our perspective, our main focus is actually on the API side of things, right? Like I mentioned, we have really, really big customers, and their primary interaction with us is actually via our APIs. And so, one of the things that we've spent a lot of time on over the last bit is making it easier for our customers to use the APIs. We expose every API that you need to run your hotel, and you can pick and choose which ones you want to use. Our hotel in a box solution, you don't have to know anything about APIs, right? It's just screens, right? Just regular old screens and mobile phone apps and things. But when you get up a little bit further up the stack, where you've got a chain level or a large entity that wants to have their own customer experience, their own guest experience, then you have to have those APIs, and they have to be easy to use.
Right. Aaron, thanks so much. I think that makes a lot of sense. Mark, what do you think? Well, how's Jonas Quorum dealing with this? It's prominent. It's everywhere. We want to be able to interact with as many companies as possible in their technology and deliver upon what we all want to do for hoteliers.
Yeah, I like where Aaron ended on that, with the simplicity and keeping it as easy to work with as possible. And I know that Aaron's not implying that they shouldn't be secure, but there's new innovative ways to do both, to be able to have an easy way to connect an API and be secure. As we approached our cloud solution some 12, 13 years ago and started the foundations of that, we started with the same approach, which is everything should be API driven and loosely coupled, so that you can rapidly expand a certain feature area without breaking backward compatibility. Going to the comment on supporting older versions of integration, it's just required, right? Because we all want to move forward, and we all move forward at different speeds in different areas. And so it's policies around your API are super important on how you maintain it, to make sure that you are supporting a long-term, like lifetime partnership with every integration that you're doing, and you're thinking about it that way. That's one of the biggest challenges in architecting the right kind of technology solution. So Quorum today is built on that type of solution. All of the integrations that we do integrate with what we call Jonas Arc, which is our platform API language. And all of those integrations are backward compatible and loosely coupled. And what we're seeing is tremendous amount of speed to getting new integrations out there with a high level of quality that are very low maintenance. And if you're not strategically focused on that, it as a core part of your competency and your strategy, then it'll be hard for you to maintain the complexity of integrations that we have to maintain in this space.
Right. Very true. Linda, I want to ask you the same thing, because I've been watching Protel for many, many years and waiting for you to come over to the Americas. And so what's Protel's view of the API landscape?
So obviously I would support both the statements of Mark and Aaron here. We have just to describe the complexity that we deal with when it comes to integration. So we have more than 1,000 existing integrations that we have carried through from these years that we've been in the market. About 4 years ago, we introduced what we call Protel.io, which is an enterprise service bus platform. In order with open APIs, exactly like you described, we also apply HT&J standards and as far as they are, enough, and then we extend them as needed. And In this, since let's say maybe the last 2 years or so, what we have been able to use this platform for is actually to take over these old property interfaces on property, old protocols, and we have been able to migrate them over or to connect them to our service bus without any recertification work with those vendors. And these interfaces are used by hotels, but maybe even the companies doesn't exist anymore, right? All call accounting systems, etc. So we delivered these kind of integrations. We have a very exciting project. So Radisson is switching PMS, and that PMS is not so focused on integrations. So we are actually supplying the integrations for the Radisson group for a different PMS than our own. So I think when it comes to openness and flexibility and handling like lifetime support, like you said, Mark, we're absolutely we're doing it.
That's awesome. You know, the complexity of a property management system is rather daunting, and it always surprises me when somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to build one of those," and you kind of go, "Oh, well, have fun with that." And at the end of the day, there's a number of new entrants that seem to be doing okay. But when you look at, and this isn't part of the questions that I gave you, but I think it's really important to discuss this when we're talking about partnering with a hotel or a hotel company with the property management system and the decision making process. There are so many stakeholders now than there used to be previously. 20 years ago, selling a property management system, you might sit in a room with, an IT person and maybe one of the executives. Now it seems like everybody and their brother is involved in the decision-making process, which extends out the sales cycle, which makes it that much more challenging from the partner's perspective. Mark, I'm going to go to you. When you're looking at trying to build that relationship with the hotelier, what are they looking for when they have this mass of people that are asking you, a million questions about what you can do for them with the property management system and maybe other platforms that you might be offering?
Yeah, one of the challenges in the property management system space is that hotels operate uniquely. There are many hotels that operate similar to other hotels, but there are just as many who operate completely differently with a different set of priorities. Sometimes your strategic management is more focused in one area than the other. So I think it's really important to drill into what are your priorities for this system? What do you need to drive from it? It's not just can I check all the boxes of features, but it's what do you really need to get out of this platform to drive your model? And can we sufficiently fill all of those gaps in a way that powers your business? But no, my business can't do everything for everyone. Just like when you fill the room with a bunch of executives, no software solution can do everything for everyone in that room. So we really have to, in that situation, we really have to take a contemplative approach and make sure we're all focused on the same goals, and then just be honest with what we can and can't do, and if it's the right fit or not.
Linda, is that the same thing for Protel?
Yes, absolutely. I really like this honest approach to really, sometimes you just have to say that we're not the right vendor for you.
Right.
I want to add something that I don't see enough, which I really like, is when customers come and look for a system, that they allow us a free format response. I think a lot of these RFIs are very rigid, and let's be honest, PMS does what it does. Like, we all check in, we all move rooms, we all check out, we all do that stuff. There's not so much value in asking those questions. And I think when they give us, a draft of where they want to go, what their vision is, and they allow us to free format, create a response of where we think we can, or what we can do to take them there. This, I think, is a really good way for a hotel to validate if this vendor is engaged enough in their success.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I think that's great. And Aaron, how about you? Because RFPs are, they can be super rigid, and once again, they're trying to get every question answered as best as humanly possible, including the weight of the dog and how it will reflect on the room rate, crazy stuff like that. So with above property, when you're looking at those types of responses, do you try to be as nimble as you possibly can be and make sure that you're talking to the right people?
Yeah, one of the things that we try to do is kind of cut through all of the sort of I'm an old Canadian farmer, so the wheat from the chaff, right? So there's a
Right.
lot of questions in there that are just noise, right? But one of the things that we took very seriously when we started Above Property 12 years ago was to build a very flexible engine under the covers, right? So under the covers, we can support, pretty much any business model, right? And can migrate people onto our platform, and people don't have to change how they do business, right? And that's a big difference from a lot of other vendors. It sounds like these guys have a similar system that allows them to do that. But in a lot of cases, the systems themselves are very rigid. And that's where you get the mismatch between what is in the RFP, what the executives are looking to do, what the people on the ground and operations are trying to do, right? And how do you meld all that together? So we take, typically with RFP type responses, we can fill out most of it, right? Because we have a flexible system under the covers, right? You want to track shoe size, great. Track shoe size, that's fantastic, right? But what we really try to do is get in front of the strategic thinkers inside of those companies and talk to them about how to drive more revenue, how to drive more, heads in bed, so to speak, and optimize their revenue and optimize their operations. But again, like you said, it's a challenge in a lot of cases. You don't get the opportunity to talk to those people until you're, 9/10 of the way through the process to start with, right? So kind of have to be able to placate all of the whims that go along with it, along the way.
So, Linda, have you got something to add there?
Yeah, I was thinking what you said, that I think it was you, Mark, or I can't remember. It said to make it easier to buy from you. And I think when we talk about this topic, other software, they just go online and they research it, and their grandma and whoever can be part of it, like you said, because they just go online. And I think we have to get to that stage too, where we are responsible for reducing the complex experience of buying a PMS.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Because it just affects so many people. There's a reason it should be. When you talk about buying a property management system or taking a look at one, is there still, there's a cost associated with it, and yes, there's different ways to go ahead and slice and dice that and to make sure that different pricing models, etc. But is there a way for a property management system, and Linda, I'm going to ask you, is there a way for a property management system to assist a hotel company in actually driving revenues, or maybe through automation, other things, but is there a way for a PMS to really spearhead that?
I think there is many aspects to this. So certainly our technology exists for that purpose, right? We exist so that the hotel can operate more profitable, that their staff, the few staff that they have, can actually be in front of their guests and create that good experience, which is where they should be, and not looking at the PC, right? I also think that they very often forget to take or to make use or feel intimidated by new technologies, such as voice, for example. We experienced that a lot of hotels have not even reflected on voice for employees and how that can drive it forward. So I think it's absolutely our duty to make those suggestions to the hoteliers.
Right. Mark, what do you think about that? Is the PMS a revenue driver?
Oh, absolutely. Or you could call it a revenue preventer if done incorrectly. One of the things I caught from what Aaron was saying, which I think is critically important, is what is your business and how does that need to interact with our platform? And if our platform is rigid in how it's been developed, then yeah, you can prevent those opportunities. Because I could be clicking on the screen for an inordinate amount of time when someone's trying to check in, that's a revenue loss opportunity. But is it streamlined for the process that I need? So those are the things that sometimes I think we overlook. You know, we immediately jump to things like revenue management, which is good and can grow revenue. But the streamlining the operation of the hotel is just as critical to the guest experience, to your employees' experience using your platform, so that they don't just get frustrated and want to leave because the hotel they used to work at had a much better system. There's all kinds of those kind of secondary impacts that you have to the overall revenue capability of the hotel. And the last thing I'll say is the technological architecture and how it's approached is also very important. Do you have to use as a real-time engine the rate quote part of the PMS, or can it go out and shop at an RMS in real time? Those types of features are core to the technology and can allow a hotel to say, I want to get my rates from here. I want my other policies managed somewhere else. And then the PMS really is a platform of, if the PMS features at the surface is what you need, use them. If not, let it connect you to what you need to have in real time, so that you have the opportunity to make those policy decisions around how to drive your revenue.
Right. Aaron, same question, you know, because does the PMS equate revenue? Is that something that you can do?
Yeah, I mean, one of the challenges that we run into is, you know, like I mentioned at the beginning, you know, we're basically an all-in-one solution, right? So in a lot of cases, we are the revenue management company, right? For like our very large rental car company, as an example, and one of our large chains. And so, you know, if you look at PMS versus CRS versus RMS versus call center, all of them basically use the same data. Right. And so by having it sort of consolidated, you know, to Mark's point, you know, does the PMS just call out to get a price? Right. That's absolutely true. Right. And so, you know, I also like Mark's answer about the streamlining of the operations. Right. You know, making it so it's really easy for those guests to get checked in. Right. Really easy for them to, you know, add a bottle of wine or do any of those sort of ancillary things that they want to be able to enhance their stay with. You know, our system supports any kind of activity or service. You know, we've rolled out at our full service hotels, you know, retail point of sale, you know, scheduling, you know, we run a marina, you know, there's all kinds of things along those lines that allow hotels to get more revenue out of each guest that's staying at a hotel, right? And then, you know, the reality of it is that if you are able to look at the hotel, you're able to look at the market drivers at the hotel, you're able to look at demand that's coming in at the hotel, you know, what their pace is, all of those type of things then help you get the right price for the right customer at the right time. And that's really where you can start to drive revenue, both from a operational standpoint, but then also just from a revenue management standpoint.
And so you talk about that, and it makes good sense. And previously, somebody talked about, you know, the impact of labor on you know, the adoption rate and of the platform. And I think one of the things that's most interesting to me, 20 years ago, when I was a salesperson selling property management systems, we would coach a client or a prospect that, you know, you've got to be ready for some attrition. If we implement our software with you and you're running some other platform, you're going to lose 10% of your staff just because they go, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And that's a kind of a weird thing to be telling a prospect, that you're going to lose staff if you buy our software. When one of the most important things now is the adoptability of the platform itself and ease of use, and making sure that that the system flows, and also to ensure that property management systems providers understand that nuance. Linda, when Protel looks at the possibility of gaining a new client, and, you know, they're migrating from a property management system that may be deemed legacy, or it could be something that just didn't work out for them, how do you coach them to be able to be ready to accept this new endeavor?
I think so. Our cloud's PMS is designed around workflows for the different job roles in the hotel. So if I am a receptionist and I work at the front desk and I do check in and check out, then the screens are intuitively in different workflows, wizards, etc., taking them through that. It should never be the case that I've never experienced that they would lose staff for this kind of reasons. I think compared to 20 years ago, also there's a lot more computer literacy among the teams, and if you consider the mobile aspect of it, these teams they're used to using devices. I cannot see that if we have that experience today, that hoteliers are not happy or are able to adopt to our software quickly, then we really have a problem with how we have designed our software.
Has it gotten to where, it's as easy as to pick up an iPad and start using it?
In my opinion, yes.
That's awesome. And so, Mark, from your perspective, is it the same thing that, giving it to somebody who doesn't know the industry or whatever, they can start running on it because it is that easy to use?
Yeah, I mean, we have a challenge. In fact, I was just thinking as we were talking about this, that one of the hardest positions to fill is someone who's competent in being able to build a UI that's intuitive, because you can't just know the patterns. You can't go look at frameworks out there and just say, oh, this framework is familiar and it's going to work. You also have to know. You have to know that, and you have to know the business flows. Like Linda was saying, there is an operational aspect to, I need to accomplish this task, and if the system isn't designed around that task, but it's designed around a UI pattern that is, business to consumer type of UI pattern, it's not going to be intuitive. It'll look great, but then you'll be like, oh, how do I do this process? That's actually a pretty complex process. So if you can blend those things two together, I always say that product management is an art more than a science, and this is the aspect of it that I think is really the art. How do you bring together that deep knowledge of the industry and what has to be accomplished through the system with a medium that is recognizable and comfortable across multiple generations? It's not an easy thing to do, but I certainly think that having the right architecture, like Aaron's talking about, having the platform underneath that's serving up the information where it is needed, allows a lot more flexibility on the front end. And so, kind of going back to one of the initial things I said that we're focused at Quorum is that flexibility, because you can't create a UI experience that is 100% dead on perfect for one operation. That's going to be the same exact experience that's going to work as well in another operation. So the flexibility is what we're really focused on there. And then, if you see one that's really great at creating UIs in hospitality, send me their resume, please. I'd love
No, send it to me.
Aaron, I'm sure you're going to answer the same way, so I'm not going to ask you the same question. But when looking at the global landscape of technology adoption and what we're doing in the future as technologists, do you see any difference from the way that we're going to utilize technology in the Americas versus the way we're going to be utilizing in the Americas? And do you need, like a market segment or a different type of hotel, do you need to be able to tweak products to be able to be truly regional in aspect?
Absolutely. So it has to be comfortable for the person that's using whatever the technology is, right? So the ability to have a system that is available in every language, right, and every locale, right? The ability to alter those workflows. Linda, I think, mentioned that it's very workflow driven, and our system is the same way, right? So a full service luxury hotel is going to want to check somebody in differently than a roadside motel is going to, right? They just are. And so having the flexibility to adjust those things, we call them sort of that ability to make your system soft, right? Where it's malleable, right? It can change, right? There's a setup capability around it, and being able to do that. There's also, maybe over the last 2 years, it hasn't been where it used to be, but there's a lot more of a global travel concept, right? Where you've got guests that are coming from all over the place, right, to your hotel, and you need to be able to interact. So we've introduced a whole bunch of, for the most part, machine learning language translations. But for instance, with our guest conversation module, right, the guest can text to the front desk in any language. We automatically translate that language to the front desk user's language, and then they can respond, and the front desk user can respond in their native language, and we automatically translate it back to the guest language.
Right.
Same thing for housekeeping and maintenance. We have one hotel where they have primarily Haitian housekeepers and primarily Spanish-speaking maintenance people, and so the Haitian housekeeping staff can go in and open a maintenance ticket in Haitian Creole, and it will automatically translate that message to English at the front desk. And then as it gets assigned to the worker going out and actually fixing the toilet or whatever it is, it gets translated to Spanish.
Right.
Now, it's not perfect, right? But you get the gist.
Yeah, I
right?
get the gist for sure.
And so it's not just the hotel workers, but also from a guest interaction standpoint.
Right.
Same for all.
Does either one of you want to comment on this before we head over to closing remarks? Because we're almost at the end of our time.
Maybe I can just add from this regional aspect that you spoke about. I think that security and privacy is a really important factor. And, Germany is probably the most rigid, stringent rules on privacy and security. And I think here, the approach that we took very early, or for our PMS 10 years ago at least, was that we created our own credit card tokenizer, for example. We also, when EU first introduced their very strict privacy laws, we made a generic approach to it, which now we can use as all the other countries are coming along, or the different states are introducing it in the US. And this, I think, is a boring topic that nobody really wants to talk about, but it's a super important topic.
Yeah, agreed. Mark, how about yourself?
Yeah, in fact, I was going to jump in there when Linda grabbed the mic. But same thing. One of the things that I promote within the businesses I work with is security first. And it's not just the idea of what we've typically thought about with security, but there's a lot of regional aspects and different implications to privacy and everything else. So being PCI compliant, that's great, but that's just scratching the surface on what it really means to think as a secure organization. And bringing in different locations just brings complexity to that. So you need the flexibility, and you need to be thinking about those things ahead of time.
Right. So Aaron, we're gonna close up now, and we'll start off with you for any closing remarks. I know that High Tech's about 2 weeks away, give or take, and we're going to start promoting these sessions pretty heavily. Actually, we started today. So any closing remarks?
The technology landscape has changed drastically over the last 5 years, right? We've just been in business for the last 9 years, but the reality of it is that the world is shifting. You as a hotelier need to be looking at what technologies you're using and how to make your life simpler so that you can service the guests better. In our case, we're able to go in a lot of hotels and remove 8+ systems, right, and consolidate it down onto one system. And being able to do that and have distribution and have revenue management, all those pieces is a big deal. It's a big deal for the hotelier just to make it simpler for them. And then on the larger enterprise side of things, being able to go in and, to Mark's point, have APIs that allow you to go in and get access to everything and pick and choose what you want to use is key. So we're looking forward to meeting people at High Tech. I'll be hanging around at our booth. I'll be missing Mark, Lloyd, and Linda at our. I was looking forward to maybe not riding one of those scooters, Mark, that you and Juan took, but something similar to that. So maybe next year.
Mark, over to you for any last comments or remarks.
Thank you. Yeah, technology is. I agree with everything Aaron just said. I would say about Jonas Quorum, one of the focuses we've had is having the right people within the team and getting as many people as we possibly can within our team, every position connected with our customer. We've codenamed this new process that we have internally called Edge. And the idea is that we all operate on the edge of our organization so that we really understand and build relationships with our customers. Jonas has a motto called software for life. They buy companies and hold companies forever. They don't sell companies, and we run our business with with the goal of lifetime relationships. So having smart people with a great technology stack that want to build relationships and understand our customers and work for our customers is really our vision. So yeah, if that's something that's interested to you, we would love to talk to you as well. As Aaron had to bring up, we're unfortunately not able to be there at High Tech. I would love to drive around on a scooter with him, but we're available virtually at any time, and so just let us know if you need a new partner.
Okay, will do. Linda, ladies always go first, but I'm leaving the best for last.
I just want to know about the scooter story.
So do I. Did anything break or?
Yes, in fact, things did break.
Oh no. Oh dear.
I think so. From our side, just like Mark, due to the current situations, we have been unable to, with the travel restrictions, unable to send a big delegation to High Tech. But we are to be found, and you can see us, spot us on our red shoes as we are walking around the stores. I think when hotels select a PMS, it is, it's a long-term decision. It's a partnership. You don't change PMS every year. And in those situations, I think we should never forget, well, we tend to really navel gaze on technology because that's our passion, but hospitality is a people business. So when they select a PMS, it should be easy, right? The complexity should be taken out of the project. There shouldn't be, hundreds of days invested in special development or consultancy and all this. It should be a system that empowers the staff to spend time with the guest.
Agreed, 100%. Linda Vallner from Protel, Mark Lloyd from Jonas Quorum, and Aaron Shepard of Above Property. Thank you very, very much for spending your time with us today. And we're looking forward to see what comes next. Thanks again.
Thank you, Alan.
All right. Cheers.